Sometimes you might need to access a virtual machine from a remote system, say from your workstation. In this screencast, I'm going to show you the steps on how to do this using the Remote Desktop Protocol, otherwise known as RDP. The first thing you'll need to do is to make sure that you have enabled the remote display server for your virtual machine. The steps are fairly simple. As you can see, I have my Windows 10 virtual machine up and running. I'm just going to click on Display. I'm going to go to Remote Display and Enable Server. We will need to take note of the server port, in this case 3389, as we're going to use that a little bit later. Now you need to make sure that your host machine and the virtual machine are on the same network. I have just bridged mine. Now we can start the virtual machine, or if it's already started, we can go across to our virtual machine. In our virtual machine, I'll just log in. In our virtual machine, we just have a few settings that we have to change to enable remote desktop connections. So the first thing we're going to do, go into our settings, and from our settings, we're going to go to System, and from System, we'll go down to Remote Desktop. At Remote Desktop, all we need to do is to click on where it says Off, we're going to click on the Off to enable, and where it says here Enable Remote Desktop, we will confirm. Make sure that the Make My PC Discoverable, etc. is ticked. We can then go down, have a look at how to connect to this PC, and for me, this is what I'm going to use, so wks-1.internal.datatrust.com is how I'm going to connect to my remote desktop. I'm using a Linux system, so my RDP remote desktop client that I'm going to use is called Remina. You can run whatever RDP client or application your operating system requires. So I'm going to go up here, and with Remina I can select either RDP, VNC, Virtual Network Connection, or SSH. So I'm just making sure I select RDP. I'm going to put in the IP address of the machine, or of my virtual machine, which I want to remote into. In this case it's 10.0.0.36, and put in the port number that we took note of earlier. I'm just going to hit enter. I'm going to put in the username of the user on my virtual machine and their password. And now I'm going to make sure that I just put in the domain, which was wks-1.internal.datatrust.com, and OK. As you can see, I'm where we finished off, but I am actually on a separate virtual machine. And just to prove it, pull my virtual machine over, and we can see that my remote desktop is here, and there's my virtual machine. I'm now remotely accessing my virtual machine using RDP. And that's all there is to it. I hope this helps. See you next time.